Last month, CBSNews.com said stimulus checks, 10 million people are still eligible for payments, but have 1 month to claim them. And the last bit of that URL reads, IRS, November 15th deadline. Wow. And then in an article published earlier this month on November 3rd, CBSNews.com doubled down on this claim. It said, the IRS said it began mailing letters in mid-October to reach millions of people who haven't claimed benefits such as stimulus checks, the expanded child tax credit, and the earned income tax credit. People who are eligible only have until November 17th to claim the money, the IRS said. Is this true? Do you only have until tomorrow, November 15th, or possibly this Thursday, November 17th, to get your stimulus payments if you haven't received them yet? Hold on, don't freak, I'm going to explain everything. Let's back up a little though. So it's been a while since I've talked about stimulus stuff. I used that word a lot throughout most of 2020 and into 2021 as I was tracking the 3 stimulus payments from the federal government, as well as the advance payments of the 2021 child tax credit. I tracked all that right here on this YouTube channel. And then, well, I stopped creating stimulus content because it was clear to me that there was not going to be a 4th stimulus payment. And it was clear to me that stimulus payments had stopped, at least at the federal level. Now, states are still sending some stuff out. My home state of California, for example, is in the middle of sending out these middle-class tax refunds right now, middle-class tax rebates. But in any case, I have decided to create another piece of stimulus content right here in November 22 because people have been reaching out to my company, Choice Tax Relief, about filing their taxes to get their missed stimulus payments. And this is because, as I probably said 24 times throughout 2020 and 2021, the stimulus payments were simply advance payments of a tax credit called the recovery rebate credit that would be reported on an individual's 2020 tax return for the $1,200 first stimulus payment and the $600 second stimulus payment, and the individual's 2021 tax return for the $1,400 third stimulus payment. So if you didn't get one or both of the first and second stimulus payments, or you didn't get the full amount you were entitled to, you should claim the amount you didn't receive in stimulus payments on your 2021 tax return through the 2020 recovery rebate credit. And if you didn't get the third stimulus payment, or you didn't get the full amount you should claim the amount you didn't receive on your 2021 tax return through the 2021 recovery rebate credit. So you would file your 2020 and or 2021 tax returns, claim the recovery rebate credit, and get a refund for that amount in excess of any tax liability you have for the year, assuming your recovery rebate credit exceeds your tax liability. But there are deadlines to file these returns to claim these missing stimulus payments. Now, the October 13, 2022 piece from CBSNews.com that I referenced at the beginning of the video is titled, as I said, Stimulus Checks. 10 million people are still eligible for payments, but have 1 month to claim them. But is this true? Because frankly, if you read this article and you were someone who was missing some stimulus payments and you saw this headline and you read the entire article, and in the description below, by the way, I've linked to both CBSNews.com articles I mentioned in this video, so you can read them yourselves. But if you read this whole article, you would probably walk away thinking you have only until tomorrow to claim your missing stimulus payments, because you'd see this part of the article here that reads, there's still time for people who missed out on their stimulus checks to claim them. Individuals with little or no income and therefore not required to pay taxes have until November 15th to complete a simplified tax return to get their payments. There's also still time for people to claim the expanded child tax credit, which was provided last year to eligible families. That credit provided as much as $3,600 to families with children under 17, but parents who didn't receive the payments last year have only until November 15th to claim them. And this date, November 15th, and another date, November 17th, which I'll mention in a second, are the only 2 dates mentioned in this article that, I will say it again for the third and final time, is titled Stimulus Checks. 10 million people are still eligible for payments, but have 1 month to claim them. And CBSNews.com doubled down on this claim in this article from November 3rd that reads, the IRS said it began mailing the letters in mid-October to reach millions of people who haven't claimed benefits such as stimulus checks, the expanded child tax credit, and the earned income tax credit. People who are eligible only have until November 17th to claim the money, the IRS said. Now they're saying November 17th. This is misleading as well. That's not actually what the IRS said, and frankly, this is why non-tax experts probably shouldn't be writing tax articles, and that is essentially what these articles are. They're tax articles since they're discussing tax credits. The November 15th deadline mentioned in the first CBSNews.com article is merely the day that the getctc.org website shuts down. This website is simply a simplified tax filing tool if you don't have a tax return filing requirement that you can use to claim any unreceived child tax credit amount, earned income tax credit amount, and third stimulus payment amount for tax year 2021. And the November 17th deadline mentioned in both the first article and the second article on CBSNews.com, that November 17th deadline is simply the day that the IRS Free File Program will shut down for tax year 2021. The IRS Free File Program is a site where people with incomes of $73,000 or less can file a 2021 tax return online for free through a third-party company like TaxAct. But you don't have to use these tools to get your missing stimulus payments, or your missing child tax credit, or your missing earned income credit amounts. You do not have to use IRS Free File to file your 2021 tax return. So in my opinion, it's incredibly misleading to look at the deadlines or the dates those websites are shutting down and then make a blanket statement like, these are the deadlines to claim these payments. What these dates are, November 15th and November 17th, are the deadlines to claim these payments using these two specific tools, but they're not the drop dead deadlines to claim these payments, as these articles don't merely imply, but explicitly state that they are and misquote the IRS in doing so. These articles are misleading. I'm afraid that many people will miss out on getting potentially thousands of dollars worth of stimulus money because they read these articles and thought that the deadlines have come and gone. So that's why I'm trying to do my part here to try to educate folks. So please share this video so we can fight disinformation like this. All right, so that's enough of that rant. So what are the actual deadlines to file your 2020 and or 2021 tax return to claim your missing stimulus payments? And these dates I'm going to share with you were left completely out of these CBS articles. Well, the actual deadline to file a return and get a refund for that year is generally 3 years from the original due date of the return, not including extensions. Okay, so 3 years, 1, 2, 3, from the original due date of the return. There's kind of an exception if you made a payment of tax for that tax year within the past 2 years, but that exception likely doesn't apply to most folks out there who only need to file to claim their missing stimulus. So because the original due date of the 2020 Form 1040 was May 17th, 2021, because the IRS pushed out tax season by a month in 2021. That means you have 3 years from that date, so May 17, 2024, to file your 2020 tax return to claim your refund attributable to the recovery rebate credit for your missing first and or second stimulus amount. And because the original due date of the 2021 Form 1040 was April 18, 2022, you have 3 years from that date, so April 18, 2025, to file your 2021 tax return to claim your refund attributable to the recovery rebate credit for your missing third stimulus amount. So the deadline to file for the first and second stimulus checks, missing first and second stimulus checks, is May 17, 2024, and the deadline for the third stimulus check is April 18th, 2025. Now, I will say that your off-the-shelf retail tax software may not be able to file or at least e-file these old tax years for you, so you may be stuck either filling out the PDF forms manually or printing out and paper filing. Or, of course, you could reach out to a tax professional like yours truly to file these older returns if you'd like. Now, one last thing before I sign off. You may be wondering if your recovery rebate credit will be offset for back taxes and for other debts to government agencies. And the answer to the offset for back taxes, at least federal back taxes, is no. Even if you owe back taxes to the IRS, you should still get the amount of your refund, if any, attributable to the recovery rebate credit back in your pocket. However, if you owe other federal or state government agencies, and yes, that includes your state for back child support, state back taxes, state unemployment insurance, fraud debt, etc., then you could see a refund amount attributable to the recovery rebate credit applied to those debts. All right, folks, I hope this video was helpful. I hope it helps at least some people get their missing stimulus payment amount to not be misled by misinformation. If you need help filing your tax returns to get your missing stimulus payments, please don't hesitate to call us here at Choice Tax Relief at 866-8000-TAX. That's 866-8000-829. Visit us at choicetaxrelief.com. You can book a free consultation there as well. For you knowledge-hungry folks out there, I have some other tax relief videos for you on the left-hand side of your screen about what you can do if you can't pay the IRS. I also have a free download for you below on 7 tax debt secrets the IRS doesn't want you to know about. Like I said, don't hesitate to reach out to us at Choice Tax Relief. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.